SMT Nation, we back. This is going to be a bit of a longer episode, so you're definitely going to get chapter markers down at the bottom of the screen for you. You can go between the stories and then elements within the stories as we cover each. I'll link all articles in the description. All right, starting first with Dish, then we'll talk Verizon, and then we'll look at C-band and what it's doing in 5G networking so far this year. All right, Dish Network in talks to sell Boost to Ergen Spec. Sounds strange? Because it's unusual. All right. The company created by Charlie Ergen, known as what was Conx, CONX, the company, in talks to purchase Boost Mobile from Dish. While the transaction is not finalized, according to the SEC filing, the company has been created by Ergen in 2020. Those talks are underway. I think in and of itself, this goes to show you that Dish and Charlie Ergen and Boost Mobile are not just laying down. They're not just going to not even give this the old college try. They're going to try to figure out ways to become more financially fluid, to reinvest capital into the network. All right, they got a lot of money to spend. They've got billions to spend, and they don't have enough money within capital within the company to do so. Uh, Also, here it says that the retail business primarily involves Boost Mobile, but stretches across Ting Mobile and Gen Mobile. So they've done their part to try to expand and build on their market share, add customers, create the capital. But they're going to have to obviously get very creative, and I think this is part of that. The company expects to announce additional details regarding the business combination if and when a definitive agreement is executed. No assurances can be made that all the parties will successfully negotiate and enter into a definitive agreement. For folks out there that are unsure what a spec is, there are always these kind of like speculative transaction pathways. Honestly, this is probably a 50-50 at best that something's going to come of this. We'll see. But it could benefit our operational expertise in the technology, media, and telco industry, according to Ergen. All right. So Ergen himself is very wealthy, but he's not going to put up his own money into these companies that have the potential to fail. Yeah, but this is interesting. It says that if the transaction is completed, it would give Boost capital to accelerate growth. All right, so this would be good for those of you that have been following here on the channel for a long time. Dish Network has been given the opportunity to own and operate Boost Mobile, formerly of Sprint, after the T-Mobile and Sprint merger, and things have been pretty down since. They've lost market share. They have not been as competitive. So there's a lot of things that could change for the better. Um, Also, Dish Wireless building out their native 5G network with Project Genesis and Boost Wireless and Boost Infinite in the future. They need fluidity. They need cash. Okay. Next piece of news. Verizon reportedly begins weeding TracFone brands. We've already kind of covered elements of this story before, but now it's official. So I was going to follow up with this, so I'm not going to go into too many details. But as of right now, brands like Page Plus, Net10, and GoSmart, which are not big time brands within TracFone. When it comes to TracFone, you think Simple Mobile, right? You think Total Wireless, right? Total by Verizon. And I know I'm forgetting one. I should Straight Talk, right? Those are the killer three with TracFone. So Verizon is going to go ahead, and it appears that they are going to alert dealers. They're going to discontinue the operations of those brands. So customers are obviously going to have to be transitioned to some other branding, some other SIM card, or they might just leave all the functional SIM cards, and everything working fine. But they're going to have to change the way that those accounts operate in terms of branding, and you're going to start to see changes within retail space to reflect this. All right, Go Smart, previously a T-Mobile brand, launching using the T-Mobile network and brand. You're going to see a new shift, like a redefinition of what TracFone has left. We'll see what Verizon does with it in total. This consolidation, folks, is really not surprising. Some of these brands have really poor traffic. Some of them just don't grow. They're very redundant, right? Nobody's signing up and lining up to go to Page Plus, nor Net10, no Go Smart, right? The additions that they had were very minimal, quarter to quarter and year to year. So if Verizon can, get things worked out here, they've got to stabilize the TracFone business, the prepaid business. We'll see what happens there, but this was inevitable, and I don't know who it's going to impact or how much so. I'm sure some people will be disgruntled, but there's just not many, so we'll see what happens. Comment on the first two stories, the Dish piece, as well as the Verizon and TracFone branding pieces. Last one, and this is a big one for me. Open Signal report. C-band is making its presence felt in 5G. All right, especially when it comes to speeds. Okay, so C-band launched in January. Verizon kind of like really gung-ho about it, right? And then AT&T shortly followed, and they've been on the track meet ever since. All right, this is 3.7 gigahertz spectrum. The carrier spent tens of billions of dollars on this stuff. AT&T and Verizon, most important thing, they're closing the gap, increasing percentage of C-band and 5G footprint. AT&T's download speeds have increased by 34.6% since March. Now, the reason that's important is because you finally start to get some data after the launch in January. And then in AT&T's instance, they didn't really get going doing much in January and February. They started getting their build out going more in like March and April. Now, I started to see huge pace increase in April and May and June. And now as we go into Q4, there are so many sites that have both C-band and DoD up. And we're starting to see that this is really making a difference here. During that time, the portion of its footprint that uses C-band has risen from 4.6% to 30%, which is almost one third of its, coverage footprint. And the speeds increasing by 35% is no small feat. Verizon, similar story. Average 5G download speeds increased by 16%, almost 16%, and has grown from 16.2% to almost 50% in that time frame. Okay, so in the top PEAs where these two companies are building out C-band, it has made a substantial impact. The people who benefit from this are going to be Verizon customers and AT&T customers. And of course, that puts the pressure on T-Mobile to continue to build out their 5G UC, their ultra capacity layer. Transitioning here for AT&T is good. They've relied mostly in terms of AT&T on their lower bands for most of its service. All right, so band 5 for AT&T, which is 850 megahertz, was almost 93% of its 5G connection to the 5G service. So that wasn't much C-band. Now, with that percentage jumping up into the 30-ish percent range, that's huge. In terms of the C-band share of AT&T, it has risen almost 6% in April, almost 10% in May, and almost 20% in July. More than 30% of AT&T's 5G readings were on 3.7 gigahertz bands, with the 5G readings on 850 megahertz dropping to 65.5. So look at that proportion. The amount of reliance on low-band 5G has now decreased tremendously, and the amount of reliance on fast version of 5G, 5G plus, right, C-band, that's increased very rapidly. Verizon, in its part, their share of sub 6 gigahertz connections rose 16.2%. And in September, the C-band rose to almost half, overtook its 850 megahertz band for the first time. So in my market where they have 850 megahertz and they do DSS, I'm having to rely on it less and less. I can tell you guys right now, when I look at these particular stats for AT&T, 5G download speed on N77, 2.7 times faster than on N5, 3.4 times faster than N2, which is crazy, right? 3 times faster than on N66. It's just basic stuff, right? Like, this is telling us what we know. Here's Verizon. All right, on N77, their 5G ultra wideband on C-band, 3.1 times faster than N5, 3.2 times faster than N2, 4.3 times faster than N66. You want to be on this stuff. In fact, for those of you out there who have not yet upgraded to a 5G device that is N77 capable, C-band capable, now is the time to do it because the networks are building. All right, so AT&T fastest average download speeds 113 megabits, Verizon at 160 megabits. All right, you could see that one company probably because they have the 60 megahertz bandwidth versus AT&T, which has the 40 megahertz bandwidth. That might be part of that piece. All right, so folks, AT&T, Verizon doing their part to build out their network. It's tangible. It's in the data. We can see it. The reach, more people, the speeds, they're increasing. T-Mobile's got competition, right? And a lot of people were like, "Oh, when are when are AT&T and Verizon going to catch up? When are they going to do something?" Well, they clearly are. It's just T-Mobile had a 2.5 year 5G stimulus, right? They got a stimulus package from the government when they got the approval of the T-Mobile and Sprint merger. So they're doing it. I mean, I will tell you, since March or April, nobody's building faster than AT&T in the Cleveland market. And going back to November of last year, so it's been exactly 1 year, nobody has built more than Verizon, right? T-Mobile's kind of slowed down the pace here. They do have a lot of 5G UC up, but there are some sites that haven't gotten upgraded yet. I think those are probably due, but they're going to do it a lot slower. There was an upgrade recent near uh, my my neighboring town I want to check out, but that's kind of the situation. What are you guys seeing? You guys seeing these things in your market? Let me know. Sound off in the comment section below. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Like, share, subscribe for more. Turn on the bell notification icon to never miss an upload. Links in the description for my Twitter, my Gmail address for business inquiries, my Patreon page for exclusive content, and some additional perks. Also, we got the memberships now. You guys can click join and get early access and exclusive content and perks and add-ons and benefits just for supporting your favorite creators. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next one. Peace.